sign up in our town. If you live it up, you won't live it down. So she left Monte Rio's son, just like a bullet leaves.
Has carbon dioxide been used successfully to treat me?
With a charcoal eyes and Monroe hips, she went and took that California trip. Oh, the moon was gold and her hair like wind. Said, don't look back, just come on, Jim. Oh, you got to hold on, hold on. You got to hold on, take my hand, standing right here, you got to hold on. Well, he gave her a dime store watch and a ring made from a spoon. Everyone's looking for someone to blame. And you share my bed, you share my name. Well, go ahead, call the cops. You don't meet nice girls in coffee shops. She said, baby, I still love you. Sometimes there's nothing left to do. Oh, but you got to hold on, hold on. Baby, gotta hold on and take my hand. Standing right here, gotta hold on. Down by the Riverside Motel, it's thin below and falling. And by a 99-cent store, she closed her eyes and started swaying. But it's so hard to dance that way when it's cold and there's no music. Oh, your old hometown so far away, but inside your head there's a record that's playing a song called Hold On, Hold On. Baby, gotta hold on to take a mind. Standing right there, gotta hold on. You gotta hold on, hold on. Baby, gotta hold on, take a mind. Standing right there, gotta hold on. You gotta hold on. Baby, gotta hold on and take a mind. Standing right here, you gotta hold on. You gotta hold on. Baby, gotta hold on and take my hand. Standing right here, you gotta hold on. 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 You gotta hold on.
Tonight on VSRF Live, we welcome neuroscientist Dr. Kevin McCairn and Dr. Mary Talley Bowden for an in-depth discussion on the Edogawa Protocol, an emerging treatment approach developed in Japan that has attracted growing international attention.
Kevin McCairn is in Japan, and he's found a breakthrough treatment for patients with vaccine injuries, with COVID shot injuries, stemming from abnormal formation of amyloid.
Here's what I think is critical about our treatment, right? So most people, 99% of any clinics trying to offer anything approximating blood filtration or apheresis, and even those using exactly the same hardware as we do, will use a peripheral brachial vein to try to filter the patient. And what we do is, because we primarily consider it a disorder, or most cases a sort of neural injury, neurovascular injury, the approach is done through the jugular vein. and then that catches everything that's flushed out of the brain over the course of the time it takes to filter or fill that filter.
Hello and welcome to VSRF Live. I'm Livio Sanchez. Thank you for joining us this evening. For most people, COVID-19 has become something they rarely think about anymore. Life has largely returned to normal. But for millions of others, the pandemic never truly ended. Some are living with long COVID. Many others report developing life-altering symptoms following COVID-19 vaccination, experiencing persistent fatigue, brain fog, neurological problems, cardiovascular symptoms, and debilitating illness months or even years after vaccination, leaving them searching for answers, effective treatments, and physicians willing to explore new approaches. For these patients, the question is whether recovery is still possible. Tonight, we're exploring a treatment approach that has been generating increasing interest among physicians and patients around the world. Known as the Edogawa Protocol, this emerging approach, developed in Japan, combines double filtration plasmapheresis, or DFPP, with other therapeutic strategies designed to address what its developers believe are some of the underlying biological mechanisms driving persistent illness. Joining us are two physicians who have been at the forefront of this discussion: Dr. Kevin McCairn, a neuroscientist who has been directly involved in studying and advancing the protocol, and Dr. Talley Bowden, a board-certified otolaryngologist and founder of Breathe MD, who has become a leading advocate for patient care and clinical innovation throughout the COVID era. Together, they'll discuss the science behind the protocol, how DFPP works, the patients who may benefit, the limitations and potential risks, and what it would take to bring the treatment to the United States. For countless people who feel they've exhausted every option, these conversations matter. But first, I'd like to bring on the founder of the Vaccine Safety Research Foundation, Steve Kirsch. Steve, welcome to VSRF Live. How are you doing this evening?
I just got back from a walk. Haven't had any water yet. And I've had diarrhea too many times in the last 30 minutes.
Oh,
so
no.
I'm a little concerned.
Did you eat lettuce? Is there something?
Yeah, I did.
You're getting the wave that's going around the country right now.
Yep, and I was trying to message Jeff Jack. I think I did. Yeah, I messaged Jeffrey Jack, who is Mr. Chlorine Dioxide, to find out whether you can use chlorine dioxide on this. I called up Michelle Herman. I asked her. She didn't know. But it sounds like something that chlorine dioxide would be like one and done. It might
is
be an amazing opportunity for Michelle.
Can you move the mic a little closer, Steve? We're just a little quiet on your microphone.
Hello, 1, 2, 3, 4. You're right.
Now you've been using chlorine dioxide for a while. Do you use it as a prophylactic? Do you use it like daily? How do you use the
No, I only
chlorine
use
dioxide?
it when I get sick.
That's
which
it.
is not that often, even though I'm vaccinated.
And have you started using it now with your newfound illness?
No, I wanted to check with someone who knows first, because I like to do my research before I put something into my body that I shouldn't be. Right?
Yes,
could make things worse, but I doubt it. But I'd like to. I'm not the first one. I'm sure I'm not the first one to have tried this. So I just want to research what happened.
I'm looking at the chat and I see curcumin as someone as Janie Yaya just mentioned curcumin. So we're still standing by for Kevin McCairn to come backstage. He's been held up, but I'm going to go ahead and bring on Talley Bowden, because I don't know, maybe she might have some advice for you, Steve, on or maybe some help with what you're dealing with. Welcome to VSRF Live, Mary. How are you doing this evening?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming back. And while we wait for Dr. McCairn, I'm going to start off by reading your bio just for those that don't know you. Dr. Bowden is a board-certified otolaryngologist, founder of Breathe MD, and a nationally recognized physician who has been at the forefront of treating COVID-19 and advocating for patient-centered care. She has become a leading voice in evaluating emerging therapies for long COVID and COVID vaccine injuries, including the Edogawa Protocol and Double Filtration Plasmapheresis. Dr. Bowden, I'm just going to start with this basic question. When did you come across the Edogawa Protocol?
I think it was December. I've actually interviewed Kevin 4 times now, and our first interview was last December. And as of now, well, as of last week, they had treated 40 patients. It's probably more this week. So I interviewed him actually last Tuesday night. And at that point, they'd done 40 patients.
40, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's...
And how are the patients doing? How many is it effective or working for them? How many is it not? Anything to report on the 40 patients?
He said that the treatment has exceeded his expectations. He has
may have had low expectations, though.
Yeah, that's true. Nothing seems to have worked so far. But, he had some of his toughest patients come on with us last week, and they all, were saying how much better they were feeling. The big question is, will it last? And the first patient they treated was a year ago, and that patient's still doing well. So I think that holds promise. I think I don't know that this is the silver bullet that's going to erase everything, but from what I can tell, it seems to be the most effective thing I have seen so far. The problem is it's expensive, and the equipment they have over there, they don't have in the US. And so you have to go to Japan.
Right.
Wow. I was wondering why it isn't being done here. That's hard to believe. What is the equipment that's in Japan that's not in the US?
So they use a special filter, and in Japan, they've been filtering blood for autoimmune diseases and all sorts of things. I think primarily autoimmune for 10 years. So this is not a new procedure for them. It's just not something that the US it's not FDA approved in the US. And apparently this particular filter is something that we don't have in the US. And then in addition to the filtration, they do IV stem cell growth factors. And the stem cell growth factors come from the pulp of baby teeth. And that's also not something easily accessible here.
I can imagine that. So the problem is that you can't import the filters because they're not FDA approved.
Right. And so we were looking at doing clinical trials, and I was working with Irene Mavrikakis on that, trying to raise money for IRBs, but there's just this sticking point with bringing this device over to the US and the FDA, and it's a little bit muddy if we're actually going to be able to do it right now. And Kevin thinks the most expeditious thing is to just bring patients to Japan for now and get solid data, get some really good data, and get it consistent so it's the same person doing the treatment for a large number of patients to sort of prove the efficacy and the safety, and then bring it to the US once he has more numbers.
What are some of the obstacles to bringing it to the US? What do they have to do? Is it
you have to convince the FDA. Like, you can't get this. Would this qualify for EUA exemption?
Yeah, you're
it's not an emergency, right?
I've never tried to introduce a new drug or new technique into the market, so I don't know. You're asking the wrong person. But
my guess is no, because there would have to be an official emergency declared by HHS to qualify,
Right.
so that they could do an EUA.
But there
You
is
have to
a
have the
right. Yeah, I mean,
have to
there's
have
a
the
right to
emergency
try
first.
law. There's a right to try law, but there's still some hangups, and I don't. Kevin probably could.
So does the right to try get past the we have it in phase 1? Like, don't you have to be in phase 2 before
Probably,
you get a right to
yeah.
try?
It has to be beyond animal, probably.
Yeah.
But-
Okay.
What's the history of this protocol? What were they using it for? What were they treating before COVID?
Well, it'd be nice if Kevin were on here to answer these questions for you, because
Right.
I'm going off memory what he told me, and I just know I want to say autoimmune conditions, and I think he said Guillain-Barré, but I could be wrong. But it's not a new procedure for Japan. It's something they've been, and Kevin has happened to find the right combination that seems to be working well.
So what's the cost? The cost is what, like $50,000 for a week of
Maybe
treatment or something
maybe
like
even
that?
north- It could be north of that, actually, 50 to 60.
$50,000, say $60,000 to get your life back in a week. You'll see the
It's a month. They do several filtrations. I think the max is 4, and they space them 1 week apart, and they do them on Tuesdays.
All right. So, and what's the deal with the vein? Because I know I've had plasmapheresis, and they stick it up your arm, and you watch a movie for 2 hours while they do that.
Yeah.
What's the deal here with the jugular versus peripheral?
Apparently, that's the way they've always done it in Japan.
Oh wow, they always do it that way.
And
Isn't that risky?
Well, I asked him, why are you not doing femoral vein, which is in the groin, but then that's higher risk of infection. And he said that this way you're getting everything from the brain, all the drainage from the brain, which is their biggest target, is trying to clean the brain. And
Blood's blood, though, right?
right. But he said that's just the way
it's a closed system.
Exactly. I said the same thing, but he said that's the way they've always done it, and it seems that's
right. Okay,
their protocol, and they've been doing it for a decade that way.
Is that uncomfortable? Like, I know the arm thing was not the. It's one of these things that you never forget, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like that's a walk in the park for a plasmapheresis. Have you ever had plasma? You've probably never had plasmapheresis.
No, I've been in the ICU before and had to have a bunch of stuff put in me, but I was so sick I didn't care. But so that's one thing. When you're so sick, you tolerate a little more than you're just walking in there, after going to the grocery store.
Yep. Okay. So it's possible that it could be equally effective through other veins. It's just interesting that they're doing it that way. It's almost like, the blood flows everywhere, but if the main circulatory flow is sort of central versus peripheral, like I would imagine though that the blood gets pumped all the way down to the end of your finger and goes all the way back up, and so everything should go through the same closed system, right?
Yeah, there may be a timing issue too. Maybe you have to stay on it a lot longer if you do it that way, and if you do it through the
So I see. So you get more flow. You get a bigger flow.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a garden hose versus a straw,
right? And then
or fire hose versus a straw. Probably
you may not have to do the whole system. If you're targeting the brain, then maybe it's faster if you're just right under the brain.
Yeah, I've never seen a dynamic flow diagram of blood going through people's body, like in terms of what the fluid dynamics are. So
you had yours in a peripheral vein.
Yeah.
And it was,
Yeah, basically I think it goes in one arm and out the other. I mean, it like they take it out of this arm and they filter it, and then it comes back in this arm.
okay.
Right? Because it goes through the machine, and then
Right.
it goes back into you, and it's all real time. I imagine they're doing the same thing. So is it like you take it out of one artery here and it goes through the machine, and it goes back in the other artery down there,
The
or
vein.
vein, and yeah, yep, yeah. It's kind of like tap water, right? Take it out of one and filter it through and put it down the drain back into the ocean to recycle. And so how long are you on it for? Like 2 hours for a session?
Yeah, I don't even know. I think it's, I don't even remember what he said. Hopefully.
Yeah. So you haven't been to Japan to see this in operation, have you?
No.
How did you get involved in this?
I don't even
Have you had
remember.
Have you had patients?
had-
Some of your patients go through it.
Yep. I've had
How
at
many?
least- I have two, and I have one who's over there now and getting it done. One of my patients said it helped, but it wasn't like a total cure. And
Right.
one of my patients said it changed his life dramatically.
Oh wow! All right, so we got more than 50% batting average. But Kevin would probably be able to tell us more about the actual success rate. So how are we doing, Livio, in terms of contacting Kevin?
He is MIA. I know it's very early in the morning for him, so yeah, we've lost contact. So he's still not coming. But I want to bring up back to the U.S., bringing it here because the government would have to acknowledge vaccine injuries is, to your point, Steve, an emergency. And I happen to have a clip from our Vice President, J.D. Vance, on Joe Rogan. I'm going to play that because apparently he had a vaccine injury. Not a serious one, but a vaccine injury nonetheless that he acknowledged.
Oh, but those are so rare.
Well, I'm going to play this. Take a look.
I took the vax, and I haven't been boosted or anything, but the moment where I really started to get red pilled on the whole vax thing was the sickest that I've been in the last 15 years by far was when I took the vaccine. And I've had COVID at this point 5 times. I was in bed for 2 days. My heart was racing. I was like, the fact that we're not even allowed to talk about that, even, no like serious injury, but even the fact that we're not even allowed to talk about the fact that I was as sick as I've ever been for 2 days, and the worst COVID experience I had was like a sinus infection. I'm not really willing to trade that. And
Yeah.
you don't even, everybody that I know, or a lot of people I know, they talk about the second shot that they got of the vaccine that made them really, really sick. Well, that's a side effect, and not
Yeah.
a side effect that we even talk about enough in this country.
No, it's also, again, we're talking about companies that have a long history of lying and being forced to pay criminal fines, and then we're giving them this exemption from being responsible for any of the side effects.
Yeah, and who do you think those big pharma companies donate to politically in 2024? I'll give you a big fat guess.
Probably Kamala Harris.
By a significant margin.
A lot to unpack there on many things that he said, starting with an injury and then he got the vaccine and then he got COVID 5 times.
Oh, you can't get COVID if you've had the vaccine. That's
It's
what the
effective.
CDC said.
Livia, when was that interview? Do you know? Because
Recently.
that was
It
not from
it
me.
wasn't that recent. It might have been from 2024. I think it was during the presidential
Right.
campaign.
The latest interview, he laughed. Rogan made a little comment about the vaccine, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but all JD Vance did in response to that comment was a quiet chuckle, and then they moved on from the topic.
There you go. Quiet
Interesting.
chuckle, move on.
So, Mary, I have a question for you in regards to that, though, because he's vice president now, and I guess he's been muzzled because I think that interview was from when they were running during the campaign, and now he's muzzled like RFK Jr. Is there some sort of conspiracy going on coming from above that's not acknowledging the vaccine injured? What's going on here? It's clear with Pfizer, who's paid billions with a big capital B in injuries and settlements. What's going on?
Well, it's plainly obvious that Trump has not seen the light, that Trump still thinks the vaccine was the best thing ever, right? He just can't see past that for some reason. And maybe deep down he knows, and maybe his ego won't let him.
Oh, well, it's ego.
Yeah.
For sure. Right. Anything Trump does, he loves to take credit for all his great accomplishments. COVID is like the COVID vaccine was one of his greatest accomplishments. Saved millions of lives worldwide with that vaccine.
Yeah.
All thanks to Donald Trump.
And sadly, that will be his legacy. He will go down in history as the man
who created the vaccine that killed all these people.
Exactly. Because eventually it's all going to come out. So
eventually, it's just a question of when. Right. And is there, like, for your practice, you have how many, like, thousands of people in your medical practice?
Over 8,000.
How many of those 8,000 people got the vaccine?
I don't know. I have no.
Guess.
I don't know. I don't have an EMR. I don't know. Probably half.
Half took the vaccine. How many? Do you know how many of your patients died from the vaccine? How many patients did you lose? How many patients do you normally lose in a year, or do you even not know?
I know. I'm an ear, nose, and throat doctor. My patients usually don't die. So,
yeah.
But
yeah, except right after the vaccine, all the calls stopped coming. We tried to reach them, like, how come you haven't paid your bill? They died a week after the vaccine. That would have made it more obvious. So it's a lot more challenging
we
to
collect
prove.
Payment the day of service, so we don't have to collect bills from anybody. Or
see, so you wouldn't know. You wouldn't have any statistics.
I don't. I mean,
God, it's so bad, and it's pretty typical. And this is why the doctors can't see it, right? Oh, I don't have an EMR system. If I do have an EMR system, I'm not tracking it. And it's just because
I'm aware that most doctors have EMR, and I got very agitated because Houston Methodist, who was the first in the country to mandate the shots, had so much data at their fingertips. They had all the money in the world to hire the best statisticians to go through all that data in their EMR, called Epic, and they could have spit out those numbers very quickly. And they
about how many lives it saved, right? And yet you hear nothing.
And it would have been on billboards all over the city. And it's very interesting how they were super quiet about that.
Yeah, it is interesting. Coincidence.
Yeah.
Can I reframe the question with your patients or your clients? Do they ever just voluntarily talk about vaccine injury or knowing someone who's vaccine injured? And what are some of the chronic illnesses that they're suffering from?
It is in my face every day in my office, even now. So it's either a patient that's coming to see me with an injury, and it's a new patient. I'm still seeing new patients with chronic problems. Or we're talking, I kind of ask them, how was your COVID experience? And invariably, they know if they're not injured, they know somebody's injured. I mean, I think if you took a poll across America, we'd all know somebody that was injured if you weren't injured yourself.
Or dead.
Right.
Which is worse. So in your client base, like, you're getting all these complaints like, I have these, this weird shit going on. Do you ever have that from people who aren't vaccinated? Like, can you make the correlation between these sort of new symptoms or unusual symptoms? Gee, this is odd. You're having cancer and you're only 6 years old, and like what? Not that you would see the cancer patients, right? Because it's the wrong specialty. But are you seeing things that you would never see, like, in 10 years, and now you're seeing 3 of these cases a week, and it just so happens that just a coincidence that all of them are vaccinated.
Right. Yeah, I guess I see patients that come with the same clusters of symptoms, and we attribute it to long COVID. So the debilitating fatigue, brain fog, shortness of breath, POTS. Sometimes they'll have strange rashes. And I've definitely seen that in people that did not get the vaccine, but I see far more people that have gotten the vaccine, and that's happened. And actually, this treatment in Japan is for people with long COVID as well. And Kevin McCairn has severe long COVID. He had blood clots, and he never got
Wow.
the shot.
So did he use this on himself?
He just had a treatment. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw him
Wait,
on X.
And did you say he did not have the vaccine?
Correct.
Wow. So he got it through shedding.
Or COVID, despite, just.
Yeah, or COVID. Okay. I'm gonna just take a moment here to get some water here so I don't dehydrate. But I do have we do have Janet Ferris's message that she spoke to Kevin, and she woke him up, and he'll be logging in shortly. So.
Put some electrolytes in your water, Steve. Do you remember yesterday you told me I didn't need electrolytes?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now's a good time. I bet. Do you have any electrolyte powder?
Oh yeah. Okay. All right. I'll be right back.
So, Mary, how is your book doing? Are you getting a lot of readers who are contacting you or waking people up with it? What's the response been?
Yeah, well, this is the first time I've launched a book. And basically what happens is there's this big explosion of interest and hype around it. And then everybody kind of moves on, we're in that everybody moves on phase, which is fine. But it did better than I expected. And I've gotten great feedback.
Did the legacy media contact you, or anyone from even local media contact you and bring you on, and they just ignored it?
I put a billboard up, though, advertising it very close to the medical center. And it was very fortuitous. So it dawned on me, I'm like, well, maybe I'll do a billboard. And I got online, I reached out to 2 companies. One company contacted me right away. It's like, oh, we've got a 3.5-week opening, and we'll give you half price because we're just trying to cram something in to fill this space. And it happens to be the closest billboard I possibly could have gotten to the largest medical center in the entire world. So that was, I felt like, divine intervention. But no. And then, no, very little media has been interested at all, but that's fine.
And how about other doctors or former colleagues from before COVID? Anyone reaching out and sharing some of their stories, perhaps?
No, in fact, I had an encounter last week with some doctors from the establishment. I gave a talk at a business networking event in Houston, and it was like CEOs of companies, and there were 2 doctors there. And I was handing out my book and giving my story about everything, how it happened. And I spent 45 minutes really digging into the whole, how I came to treat the patients and why I didn't think the vaccine was safe, and very measured. I didn't get real hyperbolic and then of course, as soon as I'm done, they both raised their hands and basically couldn't believe that I was doing all this. And it's just like, you just can't convince them.
What couldn't they believe? What was their shock and awe?
One of them's like, well, why are some doctors reading the data and seeing it differently than you're reading? And yeah, I just said, well, let me refer you to React 19. They've got 4,551 peer-reviewed published studies showing the adverse reactions from these COVID shots. And the other doctors are, for all intents and purposes, paid not to acknowledge those studies because they're employed and they're not allowed to acknowledge those studies. Another one, she do you really think the COVID shot or COVID vaccine was not effective? And I just spent, 20 minutes really talking about all the thousands of, I treated over 6,000 COVID patients during the pandemic. Meanwhile, the person that was asking me this shut her doors and didn't see COVID patients, yet she just could not comprehend my position whatsoever.
Do you ask them if they're seeing an epidemic of chronic illness since COVID started? Are they seeing all kinds of young people getting cancer or myocarditis or anything?
Well, I didn't. I was trying to restrain myself and not get too. I kept my responses brief. And I had so many people asking me questions that I didn't really get into a back and forth with them. But I wish I had.
They must be seeing it because when I meet random people, somehow it comes up, not because I'm asking, but my father, my mother, my brother, my sister, my family has cancer, and it was stage 4, and some survived, some are dealing with it. This never happened prior to 2020, and
Right.
now whenever I meet new people, and I don't bring up what I do or the vaccines or anything, they're just sharing like openly, or they have to use oxygen to sleep, like not even a CPAP, like they're just on oxygen and all kinds of different things that I hear on a regular basis from just normies.
Yeah. I have 2 good friends who are anesthesiologists at MD Anderson, and they said they have never seen anything like it with the cancer. Young people coming in with really advanced tumors that just wasn't happening prior to the pandemic. So,
But they're not speaking out at all.
no, yeah, exactly.
So mum's the word. Let's keep our job, and we're seeing all of this stuff, all this shit happening, and we're not saying anything. It's like paramedics
And
that
Mary,
see all this stuff happening and say nothing.
you're old school, right? In private practice, you're not part of some giant corporation. And there's been this, since COVID especially, a giant consolidation in the medical industry. So are the doctors that come to your talk or that you do encounter, they're all working under the big corporation? Is that correct? Or do you see independent doctors who are still not seeing it? Is there a sort of a cutoff between independent and corporate doctors?
Yeah, I think the independent doctors are far more likely to see it. But I became a pariah in the Houston medical community, so I don't mingle. I don't go to any kind of events, like medical events at all. I hang out with the people that are friendly, and there aren't very many of those. And
Still not. Is it? But it's growing, but just not very quickly, right?
I don't know. I haven't.
Like how many friends do you have now? Medical friends, doctor friends, licensed physicians. Like how many licensed physicians were you talking to before you became an evil vaxxer and went over to the dark side with us?
I actually probably have a better network now, but so right before the pandemic, I was raising kids. I dropped out of medicine, and I started my practice 6 months before the pandemic started. And I had one really good doctor friend who sort of inspired me to do the kind of practice model I have. And she hasn't spoken to me at all. But she did move to Nashville, but there's been.
Wait a minute. So she hadn't spoken to you since you went over to the dark side?
No, I have quite a few of those. Yeah.
Wow.
My
Has
best
anyone
friend growing up doesn't speak to me.
Right. So has anyone reversed course who basically
one of my best friends apologized and said you were right, but she never really attacked me.
gosh.
She didn't attack me, I'll say that, but she kind of she got quiet, and she didn't me. But then I got a text saying you were right, and that felt really good.
So what was the defining moment for her? Like what flipped her switch?
one of her good friends, and we grew up in Atlanta, and that her good friend who lives, I think, in Atlanta still, has major heart problems and is our age in our early 50s and thin and not, otherwise healthy.
Yeah.
But the doctor said that's coincidence. How'd your friend break through the gaslighting?
My friend's smarter than most, luckily.
Wow. But it took heart damage of a friend for them to realize that you were telling the truth.
Right.
That's what it takes.
Well,
right?
It's like, you know me. You've known me since I was like 12 years old. And then to not believe me is I don't care about people that don't know me, but it's like, that hurt more.
But it's because you're going against the authorities, and the authorities are the experts, and they know better. They know.
Maybe if I were a
radiologist
experts. And not treating COVID patients, but when I'm actually in it, it's hard to justify.
Now, the doctors who are working and treating patients every day, do they actually go home and then read studies, or are they just treating and then they just listen to the administrators at their practice or at the hospital who give them an overview and it's coming from above and telling them what is safe and effective? Or do they actually spend some time doing research?
Good question.
I don't think people do a lot of research.
There was uncertainty and fear. And it's when you have those situations, the easiest thing to do is listen to somebody in authority. And that's unfortunately what most doctors did. That's a safe way to go. You'll never be blamed. Somebody dies if it comes from the boss or the CDC or, it's much safer that way.
I remember my
sheep mentality.
My experience taking my mom to the doctor early in COVID, and I had brought a sheet with ivermectin information and was pleading with the doctor to prescribe ivermectin, and she gave me the most condescending look I think I've ever received from anyone. The doctor, completely dismissed. She just sort of, I handed her the printed sheet, and she just sort of like, almost as if it was kryptonite, like, I don't even want to touch that piece of paper you're giving me, and just couldn't wait till I left the room.
What I did with ivermectin, I went to the FDA's website, and on their website, every drug has to go through FDA approval. They have toxicity data. And I dug through that. I found the study, which was not easy, but I did. And I found the toxicity data. And then I also did a literature search trying to find incidents of overdose, either intentional or accidental overdose. So I found actually 0 studies. And whereas if you look for those studies with Tylenol, thousands. So I knew it was safe first and foremost. I was uncertain whether it would actually work, but I figured as long as I'm not hurting somebody, what do we have to lose? And then once I started using it, then I realized it does work.
Yeah, exactly.
You weren't supposed to find that out.
Well, Livia,
you could get into lots of trouble.
Boy, anybody on the planet could go find what I found, and it's just people didn't bother to look.
Yeah, people don't bother to look.
My anecdote,
getting them to try to look is really hard.
My anecdote to my mom's physician, which was, I'm taking it, and I haven't got COVID yet.
Yeah, and I haven't died yet. That's the common
here.
line. I haven't died yet.
And
they say that a week before they die.
Yeah, she didn't even acknowledge that I even said that. Like, it was like, so.
Did you go to the feed store?
Initially, and then I'm half Dominican, and I had family that was going back and forth, so I got it every time one of my family members would go to the Dominican Republic. It's over the counter there. It's available. It's like no big deal. So they would bring it back, and that's where I would get.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Smuggle it across the border.
Yeah, or just put it in your suitcase and fly back from the Dominican Republic.
Yeah. Well, I did a poll on X, where do you source your ivermectin? And I got 25,000 people responded. And the overwhelming majority of people said feed store. They are getting it from the feed store, which is really pathetic that's what Americans are having to do.
And it was only like $2 or $3 for one of those boxes, and then once people started using it, they jacked the price up to like 50 or something like that. So
yeah, my wholesale price for ivermectin for a 3 milligram tablet was $4. It was really high.
Cheap and effective and safe. Yeah, we can't have that at all.
Nope.
Yeah.
I just want to give everyone an update. We do have contact with Kevin. However, he still hasn't shown up. He was supposed to be here, so I'm still hopeful that he might make it, but I can't guarantee.
Right.
But
do you want to open it up for questions in the meantime?
I was just thinking that, so I'm just coming over to the question pile, and I got some questions for Mary. So let me just start with Lysistrata asks Mary, does the process remove spike not just from the blood but also from organs? And she's talking about the protocol.
That's a good question. The one thing that we're really missing is a spike protein test. So either for the blood or for organs. And there is, from what I understand, one coming to the U.S. soon that I'm interested in. And
how much is it?
I don't even know that much yet. And I'm actually sort of not supposed to be even saying things. So. But it's coming.
So there is a test in the works for spike protein.
Mm-hmm. But
that would be a good one.
The purpose of the filter is primarily amyloid, which is amyloid is a abnormal protein that's hard for the body to break down. That's happening and one thing that Kevin does, you can send a blood sample to him and he can examine under a slide. He does a special stain that looks for amyloid in the blood.
I'm curious if anyone in our audience has sent Kevin their samples. We had him on last year, and I know we were encouraging people to send their samples. And so if anyone out there did send their sample, I'd love to hear your results if you would care to share them. Next question from Anonymous, Mary. If the mRNA instruction for spike reverse transcribes into DNA, would you expect symptoms to return after initial success with this protocol?
Yeah, well, I know it's
would have to. Well, it wouldn't have to, but a better chance than it could happen.
I would say, yeah, that's a possibility. The upside, though, they do have some patients that started a year ago, and they've seen lasting improvement. So,
right, but that wasn't with the DNA integration.
Right, but I guess time will tell. But from what I've seen, I have tried all sorts of things. The only thing that I have found effective is higher doses of ivermectin, but that's not even, maybe that's half of the people, and it seems to be a temporary thing. And I think it's because I think ivermectin is very anti-inflammatory, and so it to me, ivermectin is like a safer version of a steroid, not as potent, but this seems, from what I can tell, seems to has the most promise thus far.
So there's a note that says that Lisa sent in her samples. So maybe Lisa can comment.
Oh yeah, our own Lisa Leahy. If you want to come on, Lisa, and share that. And in the meantime, I'm going to ask another question based on that last question. No Justice, No Peace asks, what is considered a large sample size for the Japan protocol? I'm not sure if you would know that, or that's a Kevin question.
Well, a Kevin question, but
well, they had 40 people, right? Total.
40's
right.
A good start. It's it gives it enough weight, I think, to take it seriously, to like keep moving forward.
Yeah, so you don't know what the if you did a pie chart of the 40 people, massive
Last
improvement,
week,
little improvement.
you didn't give me a pie chart last week. It was, we had some of the top, we had 4 of his most severe patients come on and talk about their experience and how they thought it was beneficial.
And what was like, they all had completely different responses to the treatment. How were their responses to?
I think they all felt much more energy, significant improvement in the brain fog. We had some that had neuropathy and felt like that was significantly improved. I was curious because he was treating a patient with like a tremor this week, and he hadn't had anybody. And I've seen some patients come in with really bad tremors following these shots. I had a woman in her early 50s, previous marathon runner, and her right arm has not stopped shaking since she got the shot in that arm.
How long ago was
Wow.
Years ago. And
Well, so she must attribute it to the vaccine, right? I mean, there's no gaslighting her, is there?
yeah, but she went to Mayo, and they were baffled. Mayo would not acknowledge that it was from the COVID shot.
God, when does this end?
It's just,
When will this end? Is there any precedent for this kind of stuff with the vaccine injury like this, where everybody is gaslighting everybody?
normally the FDA recognizes when problems arise with medications and pulls them off the market. I've seen several medications come and go in my career. The FDA acknowledges on a fairly expedient basis that issues are arising and swoops in and takes it off the market, even if it's an abundance of caution. But this is not typical.
We have Lisa Leahy from our VSRF team. And Lisa, you sent your samples to Kevin McCairn, correct?
Yes, I did. And I was never vaccinated. I had COVID, 2 mild cases about 2 years apart, once in 2020 before the vaccine came out, and then in 2022 at our Defeat the Mandates rally. And I came back with, I think he called it a mild degree of these microclots, but he identified, yeah, right? He
How much was the
identified-
test?
What's that?
How much was the test?
It's nominal. I think he charged $169, and I had to buy the little glass, what do you call them, Mary? The little,
Slides.
yeah. Poked my finger, gave 2 samples and then a little case, and then the shipping to Japan. And yeah, I was kind of surprised, but I was curious enough to do it. So maybe he said, like, what we don't know is what's the baseline, did we have these things in our blood in the population at large before COVID? Is this a COVID phenomenon? I eat a really healthy diet, I exercise, I do all I don't smoke, I have a little wine. So yeah, it could be from COVID, right? I had COVID twice. My daughter got the vaccines and I took her to get them at Walgreens and drove in a
You
car
took her
with
to get the vaccine?
she was in college. She was 21, and she held off for a year standing in line at Chapman 3 times a week in an hour-long line
3 times a week. Gotta
Yeah.
catch it early.
to go to class. She finally just said, "Mom, I love you and I know what you're doing is so important, but I'm getting the shot."
I'd
Everyone
rather
else-
die.
I know.
I'd rather die than wait
I
in
know.
line.
It was so hard. I was in the booth with her at Walgreens and I was just praying, But I was in a confined car with her driving home. So if shedding is happening. I was sharing her airspace pretty closely at that time. She had no side effects that we know of, not even a sore arm. So
And which one did she get, and did she get a booster?
nope, she just got the original series of Pfizer. 2 Pfizer shots.
So she got the first 2, and then she was free and clear to go to class, and no reaction whatsoever from either one of those.
None whatsoever, like not even a sore arm.
Good.
I'm hoping she got
A dud.
done, but now I have microclotting, so I don't know. Probably from COVID. It's probably from COVID. So yeah, interesting times.
Did you send your daughters to McCairn, or just yours?
No, I didn't. No, that would be really interesting. I should do that.
I wonder what her levels, if any, would be compared to
Right.
yours.
Right. Maybe I'm afraid to find out. Like for myself, I don't care, but
No.
like if my daughter has something, I'd worry. I've had my life, a lot of it. And of my 4 kids, she was the only one who got the shot. Of our 6 immediate family members, husband, me, 4 young adult kids, only my daughter got it. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear that she's had no adverse reactions.
Yeah, me too.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you for,
Right,
for
I'll sign
sharing that.
off.
Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that.
Yeah, thanks.
Do you have here's a question from Stephen DE, and he says, can you buy ivermectin in the USA now? And I know Tennessee was the first state. Mary, do you know which states you can buy ivermectin now in the United States?
Well, theoretically, you can buy it in Tennessee, Idaho, Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas without a prescription. But
Can
it
you
still
find it
has
is the
to be-
question.
Wow.
The pharmacist is still in charge, so it's up to the pharmacist now. You can if you can find a willing pharmacist, you don't need a doctor's prescription in those states. But yeah, at least in Texas, I think I know of one pharmacy in Houston that's dispensing it.
Did
Without a prescription.
before COVID, did you ever hear of a scenario where the pharmacist would override a doctor's prescription or something over the counter and stop someone from purchasing something over the counter? Have you ever heard of that before?
No. It is not typical at all. They have been wielded so much power now. I mean, they can basically stop prescriptions, not for safety reasons, but just because of political controversies. They can give these dangerous injections in a store, right, with
Right.
no training on how to help if something goes wrong. And now they're setting up clinics in these pharmacies. It's
Yeah, I've seen video of Dr. Zelenko himself going into a pharmacy to pick up a prescription for hydroxychloroquine, and the pharmacist denying Dr.
Oh,
Zelenko
jeez.
Oh,
from
really? I
his
haven't seen
own
that.
Yeah, and he would not give him the prescription from the doctor himself. The pharmacist overruled him. That
I
was
had
crazy.
There you go.
a lot of heated conversations with pharmacists over during the pandemic.
Jeez.
Well,
And one of them,
I want to. Oh, go ahead, Mary.
I was going to say, one of them turned me in the medical board, and it cost me, I think, like $20,000 to clear my name.
Wow.
Oh my goodness! I was just about to give up, and Kevin just entered backstage. Do you have a few more moments, Mary, to stay with us?
Yeah.
I know we're running. Once he turns his camera on, I will immediately bring on Kevin McCairn, who the audience has been so patiently waiting for. We have a lot of questions for Kevin once he gets settled in. But he is in the studio, and give him another few moments to get himself situated, and we can quickly ask him a few questions as soon as he comes in. I have another question for you, Mary. Oh, there he is. Let's bring on Kevin. Kevin, good morning, and you are live on VSRF Live. I'm going to have you unmute as soon as you see my prompt. Welcome to VSRF Live. How are you doing, sir?
Fighting the weather and the computer gods this morning. So, but I'm happy to be here.
We're happy to have you. Let me just quickly read your bio, and then I know we've got some questions for you. Dr. McCairn is a systems neuroscientist based in Japan, whose research focuses on the neurological and vascular complications associated with long COVID and COVID vaccine injuries. He is the co-developer of the experimental Edogawa McCairn Protocol, which explores novel approaches to addressing persistent inflammation, vascular dysfunction, and other complex chronic conditions. Thank you for joining us, Kevin. And we've been having a conversation dancing around some of the things that you could only answer. So I'm going to turn it back over to Steve and Mary to follow up on some of these questions.
All right, let me have it.
Hey.
Hi,
So,
Steve, how are you?
hey, good. So you've treated 40 people. What's the breakdown of the success in those 40 people if you were to put them into categories as highly responsive, didn't respond at all, got worse?
There's been no such thing as a no responder so far. And I will just preface this by saying I spent nearly 30 years working in clinical neuroscience, where they would look for 5% improvement in, conditions like Parkinson's, very sort of difficult to treat conditions, and they're turned out to be a sort of gold standard, which turned into deep brain stimulation. And in terms of effect size on this group, it's way, way larger than what I ever saw with deep brain stimulation. But just as a sort of breakdown, generally everyone has responded well. There's a small subset, running about 10%, who have a blunted trajectory. They still improve. We think we know why that is. It's structural. I'll say that much.
Can you say more? Like, what is it?
I'm reluctant to say too much more than it's the question is it a consequence of SARS, or is it there prior to the emergence of SARS? That's the issue I'm wrestling with. And? But it's consistent across this same group. And I can think of many reasons why it would emerge. I've spent a long time talking about from a neuroscience perspective, we'd speak about tractography, which is just pathways, preserved pathways and functional domains that the brain parcels itself into. And because of the routes that the virus can take, the tractography is it's well known anatomically, and these pathways all sort of interface at the midbrain, sort of pontocerebellar regions, and it's there that we're seeing some it's a reproducible pathology. I don't want to say too much beyond that right now, but the rest have responded well, and where there's been other issues is just there have been other people who are just, as well as COVID vaccine related issues, is they coming with often pronounced comorbidities. And so, but we will treat them as it's a major hospital. They're not just one thing and one thing only. If there's a identifiable problem, they'll treat it. And Yeah, it's I tell people, if you've ever worked in sort of clinical environments, right? You like deep brain stimulation that I was involved with. You know it works just when you switch the stimulator on, right? The results are sort of instantaneous, and tremors stop, the patient sort of perks up, and it's very obvious to sort of deny that effect in patients. Patients are seeing changes in what had been major quality of life derangements up until they've been treated in Edogawa, and that's going within 1 to 2 treatments. I had
Wow.
one treatment, and a neuropathy that I'd had it for so long, I didn't even put it in the I was expecting that to get treated. Right, I considered it sort of separate issue. After one treatment is gone, and
Wow. It
yeah,
hasn't come back.
hasn't come back yet. No.
Cool.
And
So back to the pie chart. Is it that majority of, like you're seeing these dramatic benefits that everybody is benefiting to some degree?
yes,
Are you seeing
yeah.
like what percentage of the people will have a return to where they were before?
So we haven't had anyone report just like complete remission. So our first patient is a year out now. It was about this time actually. Like it was the hot season. That's how I sort of divide Japan up: hot and cold season. And it was the hot season, and that's when we first started trying to address his issues. And I he sent blood in for like a sort of checkup, and I sort of it's kind of indeterminate. And I said, "You feel okay?" He says, "I feel okay." I said, "It'd be, you may as well. It's a year out. You may as well just go and do another week, right? You're in Japan. Treatment's available to you easily, and he'll go next month, and they'll make it a family affair, and go and get
And
treated."
how long do you sit under the machine for each session? And how many sessions does a typical person do?
So you're looking at 4 apheresis sessions. So 1 per week, and then 20 SGF infusions. So over 5 days, 2 days off, and then repeat the cycle. And people who have done shorter periods have all said, "I wish I'd done the 4 weeks." And yeah, I don't know what the diminishing returns are after 4 weeks.
Yeah.
People look radically
Can,
different from start to finish after a month.
can you measure the amount of material that you extract in the filter each time you do the filtering? And how long are patients on the machine for a session? Is it 2 hours or is it 4 hours or?
It's about, say, 3 to 4 hours. We would try to filter 2 liters at the beginning. The filters were getting clogged, and it would just cause problems. You can't have air
So
bubbles, and
yeah, so filters getting clogged, is that normal? I mean, if you put a normal person who is not vaccinated on this machine, would the filters get clogged?
good question. But what normal person's going to put themselves through that, right?
No normal person would.
And so, um,
But was
so
was that expected or was that unexpected? This filter clogging.
like the clinical crew sort of just took it in their stride, and all we did was just lower the amount filtered, so there wasn't clogging, and that's been more smoother experience for everyone all the way through. And
Can you change the filters midway? Can you monitor the
like hot swap them in and out? Like theoretically, you could.
like a disk drive in a,
Yeah. I think just the issue is there's that much tubing involved that they would worry about air embolism just sneaking
Yeah.
in, right?
Wow.
And
Yeah.
they're just very conservative and just very good at what they do in Japan. And, asking them to sort of break the rules isn't.
Yeah. Okay. Well, another way to tell whether a normal person would clog the filters is there? Can you tell how how much stuff the filter gets the first time versus on round 4? Right? Does it
So
progressively
usually,
decrease? Can you actually take the filter out and look at it and see how much stuff
no,
you got?
no, I've
Wouldn't that be
tried.
nice? Why is it too small to look at, or is
No,
it
no, no.
they're not
It's
you can't disassemble them?
You can't disassemble them, right? It's essentially just like a hunk of PVC piping, sort of,
Yeah.
sealed at either end. And I've tried to get into them, and when you do, it just makes an awful mess, and the content is super fluorescent. So it just goes everywhere and stains everything.
Yeah, it'd be
And
interesting to
so,
do that for one person, just to see if there's a difference between round 1 and round 4.
but just you can tell from at the beginning, by round 4, there would be no clogging, and that's evident in the blood.
Wow.
Yeah, you can just
Wow.
visually see it in the blood.
Okay, and what's the reason for the jugular versus just a regular vein? Is it because you can get
It's
more
a
throughput?
it's a more central line. So any peripheral vein is more constrictive, right? If you just think about temperature
Right.
and how the
Okay.
body sort of shunts from, it's a hot day like today, the body wants to move blood to the surface, and cold. So venous return is often how that's done. And they're much, much smaller vessels. And what we're dealing with is every case that we're treating has a neural component and some cardiovascular and some gastrointestinal, and it clusters around those 3 diagnostics, and they'll tend towards one or the other, with a little bit of each one often thrown in. And the thinking is that a lot of the how much microclotting plays in the disorder versus autoantibodies and inflammatory conditions is an open question. So even if you looked at, well, there's caveat that with there's no such thing as normal blood anymore, right? You find aggregates in every sample, right? So the study to look at is one by from Pistorius Group and Brian Kell, and they looked at vaccines versus long COVID versus healthy, and every group has identifiable aggregates, and that's generally how I view the diagnostics. It's aggregates that respond to THT. I don't think it's only fibrin in that respect. There's a lot that goes on, and you can think of them more as immune complexes. The body is just trying to aggregate stuff to control it, to get it to a manageable form, but some of that becomes inherently difficult to break down because of the amyloid-like nature. And if you believe their study, and our data sort of points that way, is that you see more of the aggregates in ill people, the long COVID vaccine injured.
So are you actually seeing for everybody has abnormal blood now? If you were to compare sort of blood pre-2020
I
versus
wasn't
blood that you're seeing now,
So
Are
when
you
I was
seeing like
using,
major differences? Are you seeing that everybody's blood is different than it was when you looked at people's blood
so
before the
I wasn't
pandemic?
doing this type of technique before COVID, right? So I was looking at amyloids in the brain, and they would occur under very distinct circumstances, like things like Parkinson's, and they were, and so I can't tell you that I have direct experience the boundary condition of COVID arriving, but I know people who did work in that environment. Beate Jaeger is someone you should speak to. She's a German doctor she does the same DFPA technique. She's kind of limited in the approach. She can't do the uh, jugular approach. But she's been doing this a long time. It's sort of why I had faith that the intervention works. But she says, and she's been doing this a long time, there is no normal blood. And so
Wow,
all I can do is take her word for it in this
there
instance.
is no normal blood.
Mm.
That's pretty astonishing, isn't it? Like, is there a paper on this?
Well, the paper that I just described, which looked at from Pistorius and Curl, which looked at vaccine, long COVID, healthy, but then the healthy had all been vaccinated. So, uh,
So it's not necessarily definitive that they look to unvaccinated controls.
yeah, yeah, but it's how do you get that? And under the sort of rules that are in place right now, they would just say if you're vaccinated, it doesn't matter, you're healthy, right? You're a healthy control. There's nothing wrong with you, so you can go in the healthy group. I'm not sure how much I believe that contention, but the
Yep. Our
the
trust has been shattered, isn't it?
of course, like they've taken it and haven't just sort of thrown it to the ground. They've stamped all over it and then picked it up again, scattered it to the winds, and I don't. It will take decades of um, radical transparency, and you'll never get that because of corporate interests, right? Um,
It's funny how that works.
mm,
You know,
yeah,
we're trying to expose the truth here, and
the simple
the
fact
records
is,
are just really hard to get.
I don't want to sound brutal, Steve, but look, you are halfway through. Almost, it's like you have the midterms, right? But now, as far as I understand,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
you're
yeah.
midway through, like the largest, like public health assault that dwarfed anything beforehand, dwarfed the original SV40 contamination of vaccines. Um, I don't know what would be comparable in size after that. Not much, right? And the effects are still ongoing, and you're not seeing any movement, right? RFK was ushered in on a wave of people wanting answers, and there's been no movement. Some small turning of the dials, and in the 2 years that are left, not much else will happen either, and then the lobby groups will move on
Take
and
over again.
something.
Yep.
Yeah.
What's happening with that CDC nominee? I saw
Mm,
something from Erin Siri saying that she may be nominated. Has there been any progress on that? Does anybody know?
I don't know.
I was wondering that
I,
because there's been a flurry of news about her today, but I guess she hasn't been confirmed yet.
Yeah, well,
um, I haven't. I just don't pay attention to it anymore.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I can
it's
understand that. How'd you get involved in this? How'd you get started in this? You weren't doing this before.
so I was doing this for quite some time, just obviously maintaining a reputation in the COVID space, but just for calling people out a lot. But I was fortunate enough to know Dr. Cato for a long time. And he said, try SGF in the test that we would use as we were trying to sort of screen the other molecules for effectivity against spike-induced amyloid cascade. And I just wasn't expecting it to work. I just sort of did it out of a favor to him.
Yeah.
And the results came out really strong. And the problem is people say, well, they want an active molecule that's doing it, and you can't get that from these solutions, because it's the sum total of the secretome that comes from these cells, right? And there are very, very large secretions like VEGF, BDNF, that type of thing. But there are also other much smaller, over 100 proteins, peptides that are produced. And what's their combination? And I think it's probably something along the lines of it's all, and to try to distill the effect down from the SGF even further would likely cause problems, or not be as effective in my mind. So, but maybe that's
right.
my own biases showing up.
All right, I have to run, but Livio, if you want to,
Yeah, I do
stay
apologize
on
for being late. I was up at
Yeah.
6, and it was just, I was like, I'll just lay down again 5 minutes.
What time is it? Your time?
Well, now it's 9:30, but it was like 8:30 when was it Lisa maybe called me, but
Uh-huh.
I was like, oh no, I was up yesterday. I thought the stream was yesterday, and
Oh,
I was ready to
yeah.
rock and roll. But I was like,
International dateline problem.
yeah, it gets me, keeps getting me, keeps getting old.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. There you go. All right.
Well,
Well,
I want to
thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin, for actually making it, and thank you, Steve, for being here again tonight. I know you got to run, and Mary, you've been here a while, so I know you've probably got to go as well. So I'm gonna cut the audience questions short tonight, and thank you all for being here. Kevin, if our audience wants to follow your work, those who don't know the work you're doing, where can they follow you and the progress
You can
on the
try
protocol?
following me on Twitter if you're prepared to get past the censorship, which is they'll put everything I have right now behind sensitive content, even though it's all just science related.
We did
And
We did have a question earlier. I wanted to actually follow up on that because you did the treatment, and I wanted to know how you've been post-treatment.
so I only have one treat. I have to have mine done in the ICU. So I get tics now, and they be unpredictable. And when they're putting a 3-foot long wire down your neck, next to your heart, getting a tic at the wrong time would be unfortunate, could lead to unpredictable consequences. So I have mine done in an ICU. So I had one done, and the like I say, the burning, clenching hands of waking up of a morning is gone, still gone. It's probably 6 weeks out now, and yeah, I struggled in my mind to think that was possible, but yeah, it's worked. And neuropathy is one thing that we see a lot of in these patients. Brain fog, neuropathy in individuals who have long-term sequelae. And brain fog, I don't think I have brain fog so much. I mean, details of some things I don't feel like I'm as sharp, but generally, I know what brain fog feels like. I don't have that right now. So I didn't notice any difference there. But patients who do have it report like a lifting of like a veil or blanket that's on their brain and mind within hours. and then the neuropathy, and most have reported like significant recovery in neuropathy. Now, is it 100%? I was working on one patient. He's like, "Oh, I have a little bit left in like one foot," but what had been hands, both feet, legs. You know, the brain takes a little time to adjust, and he didn't have full treatment either.
Yeah.
So,
Can I ask a quick question, Kevin? Because last week
mm,
you said you were treating your first patient with tremors. This week, I think.
uh,
Has that happened?
yeah. So I'm not at the hospital during. I go like 1-2 days a week. So there's been a new intake in, and how they're getting on, I don't know. But there, I was. What's her name? Avon on Twitter. She goes by. Um, she was saying she had tremors when I went there after the stream we did. And she said hers has gone. She's been a very strong responder to um, treatment. But we have a what I would call severe Parkinsonian patient arrive. Just from an academic perspective, I'm interested to see how that works, just because that was my sort of area where I would spend a lot of time pre-COVID. And, Parkinson's is sort of, once the diagnosis is made, it tends to be um, irreversible. You're just managing decline. So if we see anything approximating improvement in her, I'll be very
Thrilled.
yeah, because it's just that's end of life diagnostics, right? You go out one of a few ways, which is embolisms and strokes, cancers, or neurodegeneration, right? If you get to that age, and which is young in this instance, but not young enough in terms of like the cohort of Parkinson's. You could just say that's may just be normal Parkinson's. I'm annoyed by the treatment she's received in the US. And she was working with Mayo Clinic, who I used to work with. But then I was involved in neurosurgery, the neurology side, and the patient side. I only saw the patients when they got to the surgery side, and the treatment was very good there. But I'm disappointed in how they've treated the patient, which is so the first and literally probably the only medicine that works well is a L-DOPA, carbidopa preparations, and she's not responding well to them. And in I would have expected more intervention to have taken place across this hospital system, and they haven't. They've left her 18 months, and in 18 months, once that diagnosis is made, you can get quite a precipitous decline if it's not managed well. And she's well, it'd be just interesting to see how she responds. And yeah, there's I would say four ladies came in this week. They were stuck in airports and had a tough journey, but it's quite interesting to see the sort of bonding that happens with the patients as well, as they're all sort of getting treatments and get to exchange stories. And yeah, by any metric, if it was any other therapy, and just to give you an example, like you can see where the US is aiming for it, because they're aiming for synthetic antibody treatments. And why? Because they can treat that like a drug and patent. And we've been getting a few. There's a antibody treatment right now that they're using. It's forgot the name of it right now. But we've had a few patients that have had it, and their bladders looked terrible when they've arrived in Japan. And I just don't think that in a system or fluid as complex as the blood, where you have already aggregation prone disease processes ongoing, and then delivering more on top of that and expecting a good response is the right way to go. And from what I'm seeing and hearing, I hear many people have been through it now, and yeah, it's making them worse rather than better. Whereas,
Not surprising. All
unfortunately,
right, I gotta run. So
Thank you, Steve. Kevin, we had a guest on named Evan George, who, after hearing about your protocol, flew out there. Can you give us an update on how Evan is doing?
Yeah, so Evan is a complex case and has he's not typical of long COVID and has very much a neurological presentation, but spinal in its appearance and outlay or overlay. And the Dr. Caddo sort of immediately sort of noticed that so there's a layer called the arachidonic layer, which sort of surrounds nerve tissue. And best way to sort of think about it, arachidonic just comes from like spider. It's more sort of like a wispy, supportive layer and tissue of structure around nerves, sort of cushioning. And he may have a problem in that layer, maybe precipitated by the vaccine. And he's one that has this structural abnormality that we've seen as well. And, you know, hyper rare set of conditions and circumstances coming together. And, you know, I don't think the normal filtration and autoantibody reduction in this case is it's going to fix the whole problem. And it's one of those generally, I won't say intractable, but very, very difficult to treat. And unfortunately, you know, sending an email, I just haven't had a chance to get back to it, but he, off his own research, they were like wanting to prescribe, standard protocol would be prescribe corticosteroids like twice a week. And okay, in my mind, that might give some relief, but you take corticosteroids for any length of time, a whole host of other conditions just begin emerging as well. And you know, he's a lovely young lad as well, and to have something like that happen because of vaccine injury is unfortunate. But you know, all the time he's here, Dr. Kato will do his best, and Dr. Kato identified the issue pretty much off his first MRI when he was here. Yeah.
And he was definitive on the vaccine injury, basically.
The spinal injury, that he was looking at the spinal injury and the structural abnormality. And that, as I said when I sort of first got on the stream, that there's a subset that have structural abnormality, and it can be quite bad in some. And what cascades into what, or what's causal in the presentation, it's very difficult to say. we just take the view that if a patient turns up and says, look, within a few weeks, days of me taking the vaccine, this set of symptoms presented, then that's enough for us to say, okay, we'll start treating. And if they have the pathologies that we associate with it, we can have a go at removing them. But even so, you speak to most patients, and the simple fact is, the more vaccines you get, the more COVID you get as well. And so I think they just compound on each other, and the aggregates, immune cascades, inflammation, just sort of build up in the blood, just overwhelm clearance systems. And what you need is subtraction rather than adding in more synthetic antibodies, etc. in this instance. And where you do that subtraction is important. And a lot of what we do is focused at sort of clearing the outflow from the brain, and that's why the jugular is the target in this instance. But we've seen reversal of what on X-ray is congestive heart rate, congestive heart disease. My email, it's work hours. My email is just pinging at me. I don't know if you hear that or not, but
thank you for updating us on Evan. And I wanted to just confirm, you are long COVID. You did not get the COVID vaccine. Is that correct? No,
I was long COVID, but I'm one of those that in my 20s, whilst at university, back then I got what would be classed as ME/CFS. Now, and I had many years of struggling through that. And so COVID came and did a number on me first round, and I was also recovering from a head injury. And first round sort of gave me very severe neuro-COVID, right? I don't remember much of it. Convulsion, that's what I remember. And aspirin being helpful. And obviously aspirin is an anticoagulant. And then watching sort of, and it took a long time to recover from that. But watching as the Wuhan debacle started, and then the sideshow of is it natural or lab origin sort of took hold. And it's very obviously synthetic. It involves organizations that you won't get an answer to, right? You've got people, you have to wait generations for the people going into retirement and them to pass away and their retirement to no longer be valid to even get answers in that domain, despite whatever Senator Johnson's doing. And so again, I don't think you're going to get much movement or traction in that direction.
I'll have to agree with that. Well, Kevin, thank you again for your time. Dr. Bowden, thank you for your time as well this evening. And where can people follow your work, Dr. Bowden?
Well, I'm active on X, Mary Bowden, MD, and I'm on all the social media, but that's sort of the most active.
And also, I want to remind our audience, if you haven't picked up Dr. Bowden's book, Dangerous Misinformation, The Virus, the Treatments, and the Lies, do yourself a favor and get a copy of this book. And it's a fantastic read. So grab Mary's book.
I got a text from a friend of mine just now saying that her 14-year-old purchased the book. And that just made my day. A 14-year-old boy bought the book.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah.
They are the future. And so hopefully he gets the correct dangerous misinformation from you directly and it sinks in. Awesome.
Yeah, I don't think it's any bad thing that the youth, the teenage got to witness firsthand just how wretched the institutions are becoming or have become. And long may the distrust continue. Perhaps they won't go wishful thinking, but doing another forever war. Just,
Absolutely. Agreed.
I'm
Well,
watching that right now, and I'm just like, oh my God,
Yeah.
what have we done?
when will it end, if
No,
ever?
it doesn't end, right? And just like this whole thing of them sort of claiming, well, they're protecting like the Straits of Hormuz, and like I was listening to someone yesterday, and I was just like, all through the post-Second World War era, the Straits of Hormuz have never been closed, despite all the other Gulf wars, everything. They've never been closed. It's always been open to shipping. There's been sanctions placed on Iran, but nothing ever stopped the flow of oil around or through that strait. Yet somehow they managed to do that this time.
Mm-hmm. Managed to
Uh,
stop the flow of oil.
yeah.
Well, thank you both. Kevin, get some rest.
I
Mary,
gotta start the
thank you.
day now.
Yeah, go get your day started. And Mary, I hope you continue to get some more success on the book, and look forward to seeing you again on VSRF Live again soon.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Everyone hanging. I got a few announcements to make before I close out. And if you found tonight's discussion valuable, please consider supporting the Vaccine Safety Research Foundation. VSRF is a small grassroots organization, and every tax-deductible donation helps us continue producing VSRF Live, supporting research, advocating and caring for the vaccine injured, and creating educational resources that empower informed healthcare decisions. And I'm going to put this on the screen. This way you can find us. No gift is too small. Every contribution makes a meaningful difference. To donate, simply text VSRF to 53555 or visit vacsafety.org/donate. And then next week, please join us next Tuesday, as we welcome critical care physician Dr. Ron Elfenbein for a conversation about medicine, free speech, and his ongoing legal fight. Dr. Elfenbein became the target of lawfare and government weaponization after speaking out against COVID-era policies. Hear his firsthand account of the events that changed his life and why his fight is far from over. Don't miss it. And I'm going to close out tonight with VSRF launching part 2 of our petition campaign, along with an updated video that I'm going to close with tonight that takes a deeper look at the safety testing behind vaccines using information drawn directly from FDA drug labels and vaccine package inserts. In this new video, Dr. Jessica Rose, a computational biologist and longtime friend of VSRF, walks viewers through the data step by step, including trial durations, study sizes, and the use of placebo controls. Our goal with this second phase is simple: to reach those who haven't signed the petition yet, especially those who may be skeptical, and encourage them to examine the information for themselves. So if you haven't already, please sign our petition, and whether you've signed or not, we're asking you to watch the video and share both the petition and the video with your friends, family, and social networks. Every signature and every share helps us reach more people. And Janet will put the link to this upcoming video in the chat. All right, here is the latest petition video. Thank you for hanging in there tonight, and thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting VSRF, and we will see you again next Tuesday. Have a great rest of your evening. Good night.
In 1986, Congress passed a law that changed how vaccines are tested in the United States. Most Americans have never heard of it. My name is Dr. Jessica Rose. I have a PhD in computational biology, and I look closely at the data behind claims about vaccine safety. Today, I'm asking you to sign a petition to repeal the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act of 1986. Stay with me, and I'll show you why. Most people assume that vaccines are tested to the same standard as all other medications. It turns out the reality is quite different. Let's start with the length of the safety review period. For the top 5 Pfizer drugs, the safety testing averaged 3.5 years. For the top 5 vaccines given in the first 6 months of life, The safety review period averaged only 21.8 days. Now let's look at how these products are tested. All drugs other than vaccines are typically tested against an inactive substance called a placebo, but vaccines are often tested against a previous version of that same vaccine. When a new vaccine is compared to an older vaccine, researchers cannot clearly see how either vaccine compares to receiving no vaccine at all. Next, consider the number of people tested during clinical trials. Drug trials usually include tens of thousands of participants. Vaccine trials often include only hundreds to a few thousand participants. All of this information is publicly available. You can find it directly in FDA drug labels and vaccine package inserts. Here is one example from an FDA drug label. This study included over 18,000 patients. Now compare that to this clinical study for a hepatitis B vaccine given to infants. This study involved 147 healthy infants who were monitored for only 5 days. So why are these standards so different? It's because of the 1986 law, and it has to do with legal accountability. For medications other than vaccines, manufacturers can be sued if their product causes harm. The legal accountability creates a strong incentive to thoroughly test for safety. But vaccines, because of the 1986 law, are treated very differently. Starting in 1986, if you are injured by a vaccine, you cannot sue the manufacturer. Why was this law passed? At that time, vaccine manufacturers were facing exploding injury payouts in the billions of dollars. Some companies left the market. Others warned they might stop producing vaccines altogether. There was concern about a potential shortage of vaccines. The argument was, quote, "We had to stabilize the vaccine supply." Rather than force vaccine makers to produce safe products, this law instead created a program called the National Vaccine Injury Compensation Program that would pay people injured by vaccines. As a result, vaccine makers today test vaccines to a safety standard that is far lower than for other medications. It's time to repeal this law. If a medication is truly safe and effective, it does not need special protection against civil lawsuits. It's urgent because every day this law remains in place, millions of children continue to be given vaccines that are held to a far lower safety standard than other medications. Please add your name today and become a part of the movement demanding the same standard of safety testing for vaccines as for all other medications.